are back to original, the original StreamYard. I have to work on this, and it just takes it work. And hopefully, I'll get into it. We'll see. We'll see after story time, guys. This is Mike Seville. What it takes. I appreciate you all for checking in each and every Monday. I was away last week. I didn't drop an episode. It's like the first time in 2+ years. It happens, and I was fully aware of it. It was actually me telling myself that I could and I did not have to do it, and I didn't. And that was interesting because me and my ways, my disciplined ways. So working on some things. Guys, remember to like, subscribe, and share. We definitely would appreciate it. This is with the housekeeping. This episode will drop right around 4:30 on every Monday. I'm going to drop these episodes, so I appreciate you all for checking in with that. Guys, remember, it starts with me every Wednesday. Go check out the Tenacity Foundation. Awesome things that my brother Joel Simmons is doing over there. And then, of course, Joel and I come together on Fridays for Community Beacon. Go check the last episode out. We spoke about values, foundation, and the difference between lower level values and higher level values. And just because I say, let me be clear, just because I say it's a lower level value, it doesn't mean that it's a terrible thing. However, we don't just want to stay there. There used to be in the church that we always used to say, you come as you are. But if it's an effective church, you're not going to stay that way. And I think that's everywhere. You go as you are. And then, of course, when you get there, you pick up, meaning that you get new information. So it's a renewing of the mind. And for those of you who are in church service, you all understand it. Be transformed, renewing of the mind. All right, let's go quickly into some real estate news because today it's September 11th. So I want to give it its proper due because it's probably one of the most defining times in my life was September 11th, and it actually changed everything. Even the way that we travel nowadays, security, TSA, everything. September 11th changed a lot. We were living in a very comfortable place, my generation specifically. We're in a certain comfortable place where we felt as if we were untouchable, and things that happened before, things definitely have happened afterwards. But that time showed us, it really brought us a sense of, I want to say fragility, if that may be the word. But first, we'll get into real estate news. I thought this was some interesting stuff, so I wanted to share. It says that where are the young, rich professionals going? So let's look at this. It says they're young, they've got money, and they're on the move. And it says a recent analysis by the IRS found that New York and California lost the most residents aged 26 to 35 with annual incomes of $200,000. This, makes sense. Let's get into it. There are likely reasons why folks are relocating, not the least of which is cheaper living. We'll go into that because while pulling in $200,000 a year may sound impressive, it's about what you do with that money that begets wealth. This is a whole financial education. The lower level value of that is definitely self-worth. So found that about 1 in 4 people in this income bracket are living paycheck to paycheck. That's interesting. Florida and Texas, the top 2 states of net migration as identified by Smart Assets reports, have no state income. Awesome reason. And generally lower home prices. I guess it depends on where in Florida. And they're going to, of course, the hot spots, Austin and Miami. New Jersey, which this surprised me, but after reading certain things about New Jersey, and of course, I'm from the great state of the Garden State of New Jersey, but I can't tell you anything about it besides Mr. Clark. Lean on me. The northeastern state experienced a net migration 20. So people are moving to New Jersey. I can see that from New York. At least 700 residents in this income and age bracket. a net migration in 2020 of at least 700 residents. That doesn't even sound like a lot, but with the potential to save money while living in a suburban lifestyle, I mean, that they probably can go back and forth, which, I mean, I heard like the tolls, but I don't even get into it. So anyway, let's get into the numbers. It says Florida had the highest net gain because there's not a lot of people. That's what, when you look at it, when it says 700 or 7, there's not a lot of people who make, especially if you're between 26 and 35, you're making over 200,000. So it says 2,175 people went to Florida. Welcome. The median sales price of homes in Miami is $580. It's about 500,000 here in Palm Beach, up 10.5% from last year. Absolutely. And it says even Orlando, $375,000 boom. So great places to move. Texas, similar to Florida, no state income tax. 4,048 new filers in the given tax bracket. So what does it say? Had a net gain of 2,175. They had 4,048. So why are they number 2? I don't know. But outflow, okay, they left. People left. So the net migration was 1,909. Where did they go? New Jersey is third, which was interesting to me. Colorado, I could see people moving to Colorado. And this, I guess, North Carolina, a lot of people do move to North Carolina. We actually call them halfbacks. If you move from New York to Florida and you move halfway back to North Carolina, South Carolina, you start to see that. So I thought that was some interesting to share in regards to real estate news. And so now we will go into boom 9/11. Let's talk really quick about your 9/11 story. And if you have a 9/11 story, I'd love to see it. Like, where were you when this happened? So September 11th, 2001. This was my second year up at the Seven Hills, the great Florida A&M University. I was in Tallahassee at the time. I was actually attending a science class. And actually my sister also was in the same class, which was interesting. So we both were attending the science class, and I remember pulling up to the school, going into my usual dedicated parking spot. That's a story for a whole another time. Went into the classroom. We just sat there, and when we sat there, there was already a lot of things going on. You saw a lot of hustling and bustling, but we didn't know. It wasn't like you had these phones. We didn't. Matter of fact, Facebook, MySpace, none of that was there. I sound so old, but this was 22 years ago. So Facebook, none of that was there. It was just you. You had a phone. I think even at that time, you had to share minutes. I might have had Singular. We don't even have Singular now. And I remember Singular allowed you to dial for free after 7 o'clock. How many of you guys remember having to dial out after 7 o'clock? So we're sitting in the classroom. We're waiting for the teacher to get up and talk. And he's one of those teachers that just gave lectures. He didn't really take too many questions. He was very focused on what he was doing. And I remember an aide or someone came in, security came in and said something to his ear. And they said that class was canceled for the day. And that's when you started seeing the phones going off and everybody figuring out what's going on. The first thing that pulled up was a plane had crashed into the tower. So the first plane had crashed into the towers. And that's what we knew. And so now I'm going back to my parking spot. And at this point in time, now everybody's leaving campus. So if you ever left Florida A&M at that time, that's congestion. It's going to be a traffic jam because you got people coming in and out. We're not too far away from FSU. So we had that traffic going on. And at that point in time, you really couldn't get through to anybody on the phones because there was just too much activity. And I had Singular, which probably was the cheapest cell phone provider. People at that time, Verizon probably was the best. Now they're pretty much all similar. And Verizon was like way above the rest of them. So you couldn't get in contact with anybody. Even going to call the home was calling this. I turned on the radio. By the time I got in the car and turned on the radio, the second plane had crashed into the towers. And so now this was like, we don't know what's going on. They wanted everyone to get off the campus. Campuses was on high alert because we didn't know if something else was going to happen. And it almost reminds me of, 2020 And I think that's going to be like a defining moment for a lot of our children who had to go through what happened the pandemic in 2020 with the shutdowns and the nervousness and the anxiety of or excitement of what exactly was taking place at the time and not getting any information. At that point in time, our only information was the radio. And so, of course, by that point in time, a lot of people had gotten home, turned on your TV and or radio, and nothing happened afterwards. But we saw the president. We saw he was speaking to some elementary school kids. I could imagine being a president being told that at that time, and I wasn't even a big fan of W. However, just being told that that had happened, and I think his reaction, a lot of people, the way he acted, he should have listen. The way I've seen people freeze up for other things, that was something monumental. So, man, I'd love to hear what was your 9/11 story. Definitely want to, this changed the way we looked at a lot of first responders because a lot passed away. Besides of the people who passed away in the buildings, etc. Like that really put in perspective what that job was about as a first responder. People having to, sacrifice their lives in order to save other people. And we saw how New York came together. We saw what happened. There's everything, there's a lot of this things that circulate and speculated. This is not the platform that I want to talk about. I want to talk about people who did ultimately lose their lives in that, and want to show them that their proper respect. And that's why we have and we should respect 9/11, regardless of where you sit. It's just, I think any loss of life is should be honored. So, guys, if you have a 9/11 story, put it in the chat. Other than that, I do appreciate you all for checking in with me. I had some more things to talk about, but I just want to end it with that. I think it's important that I ended at that. I'll come back with what I was going to talk about this week, possibly next week, probably within the week, as a lot of things are changing, and that was some of the things that I wanted to speak about in the episode. But appreciate you guys, and see you next week.